Well, Anne Barnard joins us now. And thank you for joining us today. Let's begin with this airstrike itself. Tell us the story behind the Syrian boy in that ambulance.
Well, Aleppo is a city that's divided between rebel control and government control. And there have been government bombardments of the rebel-held side with airstrikes and shelling for years now. And rebels have been shelling the government-held side. So in a way, this is nothing unusual. It's horrible to say, but there's awful bombings every day, especially with air power. That's extremely destructive. You see on the rebel side whole blocks that are destroyed, and children are killed almost as a daily occurrence. So that's not what made Omran's picture necessarily. That's not necessarily the reason that his picture grabbed so much attention.
Why does it grab so much attention, do you think?
I think that there are some obvious reasons and some sort of unknowable reasons why something grabs attention and something else doesn't. But there are so many pictures that are actually so horrific that many news media shy away from them. People really can't stand to look after a certain point at pieces of children being pulled out of the rubble. We see this every day as journalists, and certainly Syrians see it in front of them every day. But this picture, in a way, was maybe more relatable, much like the picture of Alan Kurdi, the little Syrian boy who drowned almost exactly a year ago trying to reach Greece. In that picture, his body was intact. He almost looked like he was sleeping on the beach. A lot of people could picture that as their own child, even if they'd never been near a war zone. And I think Omran's picture is a bit the same in that just his face looks like that of your own child or a child that you've loved if you don't have children. He's alive but bewildered, and his gestures are so familiar to anyone who's dealt with children. So I think it might just be something as ineffable as that.
Well, when you mention Alan Kurdi's photo, that certainly changed the debate in many countries around the world, certainly changed the debate around Syrian refugees in this country. Do you think this image has the power to change anything in the Syrian conflict?
Well, yes and no. I think Canada is a real exception in that moment had a lasting effect on the attitude towards refugees, and it should be said that Canada probably had a more welcoming attitude and certainly a more flexible policy towards refugees than, say, the United States in the first place. With Alan, yes and no. I mean, his picture got a lot of sympathy for refugees in Europe. I think it was one of the reasons that Europeans welcomed refugees with flowers. But, that sense of sort of unabashed welcome only lasted a few weeks, because soon there were the Paris attacks. People conflated Islamic State terrorists with refugees. And there was very quickly the sympathy that came from seeing Alan's picture faded. Of course, there are still people that are very sympathetic and helpful, but I'm not sure that these pictures have a lasting effect. I certainly hope that they do, but many Syrians take a cynical view that every few months there's some picture that goes viral and then it's forgotten until the next time.
Well, and even in your article today, you mentioned another photograph of another boy, one that wasn't so lucky, did not survive the airstrike, and you said that photo will not go viral.
I mean, right, exactly, because literally, I mean, you may hear an edge of exasperation in my voice, and it's worse for Syrians themselves. This is happening every day, and Omran is lucky in a sense that he's alive, and his parents are alive, and he was able to make his way to a hospital that was still functioning. The things that go on every day in this war are just literally impossible to hold in your mind. Each one is more horrible than the next.
Yeah, and tell us about that other photograph, though, the one that you say that will not go viral.
The photograph is of a boy who died the following morning. So we were still scrambling around trying to find out more about Omran and his family because it had struck such a nerve. And it's an opportunity to tell people more about an individual family. But frankly, the doctors in the hospital and the rescuers were too busy. There was already another big airstrike. And this boy, the picture you're talking about, was just another boy. His name is Ibrahim. And he was having CPR. And in the moment, after a doctor sent his picture, soon after they sent a text saying, now he died. And the picture shows him dead. And by a very virtue of the fact that he's dead, I really find it unlikely that photograph will go viral. Just a grim picture of a Bernie, but an everyday sight in Syria.
Well, that's a sad reality to point out, but let's leave it there for now. Anne, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And Anne Barnard is the New York Times Beirut bureau chief. She spoke to us from Beirut.